Good evening. US President Donald Trump has hailed the dawn of a new Middle East as Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates signed a historic deal to normalise ties with Israel. The Washington-brokered treaties announced last month mark the first such major agreements between an Arab nation and Israel in 25 years. Palestinians have condemned the deal as a betrayal.
On the White House balcony overlooking its south lawn, US President Donald Trump claiming a foreign policy victory at the height of his re-election campaign and casting himself as a peacemaker.
These agreements prove that the nations of the region are breaking free from the failed approaches of the past. Today's signing sets history on a new course.
The president, joined by Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu and the foreign ministers of Bahrain and the UAE, to sign a series of historic deals dubbed the Abraham Accords, as three countries which were never at war normalise already thawing relations.
This day is a pivot of history. It heralds a new dawn of peace.
Bahrain and the UAE becoming the third and fourth Arab nations to normalise relations with Israel after Egypt in 1979 and Jordan in 1994. The countries committing to exchange embassies and ambassadors and cooperate on issues such as education, health, security and trade. But no mention in the accord of the decades-long conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Bahrain and the UAE, though, expressing their support for a two-state solution.
هذه المعاهدة ستمكننا من الوقوف أكثر إلى جانب الشعب الفلسطيني وتحقيق آماله في دولة مستقلة ضمن منطقة مستقرة ومزدهرة.
But as the Emirati minister spoke, Palestinian militants fired 2 rockets into Israel from Gaza. One was intercepted. Palestinians taking to the streets in the West Bank and Gaza, and their supporters outside the White House. Palestinians claim the deal will do little towards achieving peace.
I think what needs to be clear that these deals have nothing to do with peace, that this is about the United States expanding its sphere of influence throughout the Middle East.
In Israel, the deal met with praise but also concern over the UAE's potential to now buy US weaponry, including F-35 fighter jets. Questions too over what Saudi Arabia, seen as the linchpin for overarching regional peace, will do. The Saudis tonight reiterating their desire for a comprehensive Palestinian solution. President Trump claiming they and several other Arab states will soon sign a deal of their own. Omer Dehen, SBS World News.
CNN correspondent Oren Lieberman joins us now live from Jerusalem. Good evening, Oren. How is the formal normalising of relations being received there in Israel?
Janice, these agreements are being pretty much welcomed across the Israeli political spectrum, from the left, from the right, and from the center. We saw the flags of the UAE and Bahrain lit up on the walls of the old city of Jerusalem, as well as in the Tel Aviv municipality, and those flags flying above the foreign ministry. And you see it in the papers today. One of the leading papers here, Yediot Ahronot, has it on the front page. There's even an op-ed in here from an Emirati commentator. So it truly is being celebrated as an historic day. But of course, everyone here noting that these are not countries that have been at war before. So these are less peace agreements and more normalization agreements. But that doesn't take away from what we saw on the White House lawn and how significant of a step this is. These are nations that have had covert relations for decades. Those relations coming out into the open is a big step.
Well, on the flip side, the Palestinians, of course, are calling this treason. They'd urge Gulf nations not to strike any deals until it achieves statehood. So what's the likely fallout going to be on that front?
Well, the Palestinians are in a very difficult spot right now. They've accused the Bahrainis and the Emiratis of betraying the Palestinian cause, betraying Jerusalem, and betraying Al-Aqsa. Despite that, this went forward, and it's very likely that we'll see more states move forward. Perhaps Oman, a bigger prize for the White House and certainly for Israel would be Saudi Arabia, although that seems less likely. But a process has begun. A door has been opened by the Emiratis, and it's likely that either in the immediate future or in the longer term, there will be more Arab states stepping through that door. You saw the anger spill over, of course, in Gaza, with Gazan militants firing a total of 15 rockets, according to the Israeli military, towards southern Israel. Notably, we know of the anger they have towards towards Israel. But the first of those rockets came when the Emirati foreign minister began speaking. So that anger not just directed at Israel right now, but also, it seems, directed at the United Arab Emirates. The key question, how much longer until other Arab nations decide to go the direction of the UAE and Bahrain and normalize relations? President Donald Trump promising that answer will be soon. We will certainly wait and see at this point.
Yeah, plenty more to play out. That's Oren Lieberman joining us live from Jerusalem.